I still haven't figured out exactly how I'm supposed to start these because I don't know what episode I'm up to. Because the first one was the pilot, and the second one was episode one, and this is episode one because it's the second one. But because it's the second one, but it's episode one, I don't know how to title it or how to announce it. Because I don't know if a pilot counts as one. I mean, this is the second, but it's the first because typically pilots don't count. But that doesn't matter. The amount of times I've actually done this intro is ridiculous because I was having some troubles actually recording. I'm fairly new to Reaper, which is what I'm using because I didn't want to use Audacity for the rest of my life like a peasant. And it just, whenever I was recording, it sounded super choppy. Like I was trying to watch a video with a Wi-Fi hotspot in the desert. It just sounded abysmal. And, I spent ages looking at it, and it was weird. It wasn't configured properly to the point where it was accepting this microphone and headphones as audio and playback, but they weren't the main ones that were recording. I don't know, in the devices audio section, this isn't what it had selected, but it was still sort of recording and sort of playing back audio. It was a real strange pain in the ass, but now everything is working. So, hey, welcome back to the OB broadcast, episode 1, the second, because the pilot was one that occurred. Oh, and we have a phone call. Hello? Oh, and I missed it. Awesome. We got a good one today. I'm going to talk about Spiderman PS4. I'm going to talk about Eminem's Kamikaze, and probably some other things to pad out the length, because I want to get to 45 minutes consistently. I think we'll start off with Spider-Man, because I feel like it's been out like a month and a half, and the only people that are really yet to pick it up are people that just aren't going to at all, which is, fair enough. People that are waiting for it to get cheap, which is, I was in that camp. And then people that are undecided and are really waiting for something specific or someone specific to really turn the tides on their decision. So I'm going to try and convince you to buy it only because it's really good and I think you'd enjoy it regardless of who you are. Not because I gain any, financial backing for advocating the game in any capacity. However, if you want to, who is Ubisoft? I think it's Ubisoft. Hey, if you guys are listening to the podcast that's got consistently one view, and that's me, if you want to send me some money to promote the game, I'm happy to do it because it's a really good game. So, starting off with the graphics, it just looks gorgeous, right? Like I'm on a PS4, not a PS4 Pro, and it still looks phenomenal. My TV's not a particularly good one. It's nothing special. It's kind of old. I got it for like $20 from a friend, but it just looks great. At no point did I, you know what, to be completely honest, at the beginning of the game, I'm not sure why, but when I first got into the action, swinging through the city felt a little, I don't want to say choppy. No, there was, I don't want to say screen tearing because it's not screen tearing, but it just looked a little bit bad, but maybe that's because I hadn't updated it or the day one patch hadn't gone through yet. I'm not entirely sure, but hey, after about an hour or two of playing, it seemed to really get smooth. I mean, there's this one scene where one of the main characters, their face is, really up close, and this is spoiler free, obviously. I'm going to maintain that. But there is this one section where one of the characters' faces is really, really close, and you just look at their face and you're looking at all their pores and, where they've shaved, and you just, I've seen this face before in another man. It's crazy because it just looks so realistic. The people, they look phenomenal. The cityscapes, and they just look great. And the swinging animations are really, really good. And the sound effects of the swings themselves just sound the same, but just really, what's the word? I guess it's very satisfying when you hear the, I was going to try and mimic it, but I cannot, so I won't. But it does sound really, really satisfying. The music's really good as well. The thing with music is that, for me, it has to be, because I'm the sort of person, and YouTube has ruined me to the point where if I'm not listening to something, be it like an old episode of Candy vs. Spinner or like a podcast or sometimes music. If I'm not listening to something, I find it hard to enjoy games. I don't know why, I've just conditioned myself to being that way. But usually when I'm playing a game, I need to be listening to just something else, someone else talking. I don't know what it is, I don't know why. Maybe I'm living vicariously through other people to simulate friendship, or maybe just because I like the sound. And that's sort of the way I play it. And so for a game to say, for a game to really retain me without listening to something else and just listen to the music, it's a pretty big milestone for me, at least. And the fact that, you know, Spider-Man all the time, I've got one headphone in, but I'm never actually playing anything. Very, very infrequently would I put something on, and that's usually when I'm swinging between where I am and where I'm going. And even then, I'm pausing whatever I'm listening to because J. Jonah Jameson's doing his podcast, and they're just fun to listen to. It's crazy. You know, at no point did I feel like, oh man, the game is good, but the music and the soundtrack, I just want to listen to something else. I was fully engrossed just by the soundtrack, because it does have this, you know, really great swelling music whenever you're swinging, and, you know, they've got atmospheric songs and tracks to, you know, match whatever it is that you're playing, the scene or whatever. The swinging itself is phenomenal. So I'm weird with superheroes. I don't really like some of them. Don't like the Avengers. I don't know why. Captain America and Iron Man in particular are super boring to me, and all those movies you could not pay me to watch. I've watched The Defenders on Netflix because I find those 4 characters interesting, and I think that if you want to fill out a good story, you really need to do it in like 6 or 7 hours in a TV show as opposed to 2 in a movie, because there's just too much backstory, especially with these superheroes. But I've been watching The Defenders, but the only ones of the Avengers that I'm actually interested in is Spider-Man, and this was before the game came out. I've always sort of liked Spider-Man. I don't know, maybe it's the quips, maybe it's the Spidey sense, because I think it's a cool power, but I've always been super fond of Spider-Man. And so I went through and I watched the abridged versions of Infinity War and Civil War just to catch up with Spider-Man lore, and then I watched Homecoming, and that was really something that got me into wanting to get this Spider-Man PS4 game. And I don't know how I went from that tangentially from swinging into the movies, but watch the movies, they're super cool, the ones with Spider-Man. Anyway, my train of thought is that the swinging in the game is really, really good. It's so true to the movies, because in the movies, this is the train of thought I was going off of. When you're watching the movies and you're seeing Tom Holland swing through, he looks really, really cool. And it looks like a lot of fun. You know, same with Tobey Maguire. Not so much Andrew Garfield, because I don't know why people rate him higher than Tobey Maguire. No love for Andrew Garfield. He's Spider-Man, not him the person. But whenever you're watching the movies, the swinging looks really cool. You think it looks like a lot of fun. And then the game is about as close to it as you can get. It's a good midpoint between real life and a movie. And the swinging is so good. You have so much control. You know, there's a few different options. You can swing normally, and you can shoot 2 webs, and you can pull yourself forward for extra propulsion, and you can swing really low for a lot of speed, and you can swing really high for, upwards momentum. The thing is with Spider-Man, if you screw up the swinging, you basically ruin the game, because it's the most integral part of the game. You could have a Spider-Man game that's got brilliant swinging and terrible combat, and it would still be a good game. But no, the swinging is probably better, but not by much, than the combat in this game, which is also pretty damn good. The swinging sort of feels like a mini game because you do it so much, and it's really, really enjoyable, even though it's not necessarily, integral to the story. Because there are Super Mario Odyssey speedruns of not pressing A, or, doing this or doing that. And I'd be so curious to see if you could make it through Spider-Man without web swinging. Maybe, because there's another thing you can do where you sort of pull yourself to a point and just sort of perch Assassin's Creed and land on it. So you can do that. I'm curious to see if there's, speed runs, or if there's runs in general where you don't web swing at all. I don't think it'd be fun, but it would be interesting to see. But yeah, swinging is almost like a minigame in and of itself. And the other minigames in this Spider-Man game is these sort of like science minigames where you're playing as Peter Parker. And there's only 2 of them. One is sort of like Flow, you know, the game on your iPhone where you gotta make sure the path for water goes. You've probably seen it in 100 different iterations. And the other was just this weird matching up lines in a sort of bar graph, vaguely type of science minigame. At first, they both seem kind of boring, but they're actually kind of fun. I don't know, there's something about these minigames, unlike other minigames, where you actually feel some sense of satisfaction when you beat them. And I don't know if it's because there are like rewards for them, you know, XP and tokens, or it might be because they're science, so you've kind of got this idea that, oh, this is a science thing, I'm doing this, I'm smart. But they are enjoyable as far as minigames go, because there's sometimes game situations where minigames just aren't fun. And actually, Spider-Man does have some of them. Spider-Man has these levels where you can play as two other characters, Mary Jane and Miles Morales. And it's not super spoilery because it's in all the trailers, but those two characters you play as in their own sort of different ways. Here's the thing, I don't have a problem with, because it's this weird sort of stealth minigames almost, and you're walking around as, or crawling and creeping around as Mary Jane or Miles, and you're trying not to get caught in various situations, and I get why they're there contextually, but at the same time they're really boring. Because the whole thing that I like about Spider-Man in terms of combat is that it can go from stealth to beat 'em up really, really quickly, and you can decide when it starts and stops. And if you're done being stealthy, you just, bam, it's time to punch dudes in the face. But with these, you sort of, they force you into stealth gameplay, which is fine if you're playing a stealth game, but with this, it's sort of, yeah. There is one exception to the rule, where one of the Mary Jane levels where you're playing as her, and you sort of have control of Spider-Man, in the sense that you can get him to abduct dudes the way he does, stealth takedowns. And that's kind of fun, because you feel like you have some power as Mary Jane, and you can sort of look up and you can see him crawling around the roof, and you can see him swing between the rafters. So that one's kind of cool. But as far as those in-between levels go, they're just kind of boring, especially when the core Spider-Man game is so overwhelmingly good. Combat is... This might be one of my favorite games in terms of combat, just because of how seamless and Spider-Man-esque it is. And the reason I say Spider-Man-esque is that you can start doing a combo, or you can launch someone and then start punching them, and then your Spidey sense will go off, someone's shooting a gun at you, and you can dodge, and you can do anything out of anything. You know, anytime you're doing a combo, you can break it up with a dodge or a grab or a web shoot. I just think that one of the things that's so impressive about it is that you can, you know, just stop and start anything. You know, because then you can dodge out of anything and into anything, and it really just feels like you have so much more control of the character, and it especially fits that, you know, Spider-Man, Daredevil, brawler, superhero type character. The amount of times I'm fighting someone, and then I'll dodge, and then I'll zipline swing to someone else and punch them and do a finisher. It's just so satisfying. And I feel like this is one of the games where I don't think it's particularly balanced, in the sense that I'm sure if you were a min-maxer and you really studied the game, you could figure out certain setups and combos and things that would just invalidate, you know, 90% of the fights, because you could do this and do that, and in 2 seconds you've got 14 enemies stuck to walls and they can't do anything, combat's over. But for the most part, you're just jumping around, swinging, fighting, and it's really, really fun. And particularly interesting, and I'm sure this is not the first game to do it, but your healing system is also the same as your finisher system. And it's good that you can sort of have that dichotomy between the two. If you've got your focus bar, which is, you know, you string combos, you get lots of hits, you get focus, and you can either use that to pull off finishers to just insta-kill enemies, or you can use that as your health. It's good. You know, the amount of times you're checking your health, oh, I'm fine on health, but there's a bunch of enemies and I got focus to spend, I can do some finishers, or I'm a bit low on health, maybe I need to, you know, stock up and then just take on these enemies slowly. For a game that doesn't necessarily sell itself as a stealth game, the stealth is awesome. And it reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed mixed with Dishonored, because you've got access to you know, your superpowers, obviously, so it really makes getting across the terrain quick and easy. But there's also all this, like, climbing involved. So the amount of times you'll climb up the side of a wall, pull someone off and web them, so synonymous with the way you would assassinate guys in Assassin's Creed. At the same time, if you're going up around the rafters or, you know, from light post to light post, you just swing, swing, swing. And it's really similar to playing Dishonored, where you would blink from one place to another, or transversal, I think it's called in the later games. It's just so satisfying. And like I mentioned before, you know, you can see, you know, 10, 15 enemies in an area. You can stealth take them all out. You can stealth take out the rocket launchers or the snipers. And then from there, you can go in and brawl the rest. You know, it really gives you heaps and heaps of options on how you want to take out enemies. And it's not all tactical. If you were playing on a high difficulty setting, you could really be stealthy about it. But sometimes you want to be half stealthy and half brawler. And so you can land on the ground and you can press triangle to zip and knock out your enemy when they're not looking. And you can zip around the whole map and get a lot of the guys without getting noticed. And it's stealthy, but it's also this beat 'em up brawler type stealth system. And you can balance between the two. You know, you can jump down, punch two dudes in the face, zip back up, and then start attaching them to light posts. So the stealth is really cool. There is one suit power, and I'll get into the suits later, but there is one that sort of augments your stealth, but I've never used it because you really don't need to. And, you know, I'm playing on the middle difficulty of 3, but I've yet to come across a situation where that would be really, really useful. The story's cool. I don't know. I think I got my hopes set up on Spider-Man Homecoming story because I found that pretty interesting. It was just nice to get away from the whole old May, Ben dies, Green Goblin type thing. So Homecoming was a pretty good change of pace. But then they went back to the Peter Parker, Mary Jane, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn, Dr. Ock. And it's a good story. I'll be honest with you, I'm not finished. I've probably got like a couple hours left into the main story because I've been doing a lot of the side stuff and I'm at about 80% completion of the game. So I'm pretty close to the end, unfortunately, because it's been a phenomenal time playing it. I just was really surprisingly happy with the story because, like I said, I've heard the core Spider-Man story so many times through games and shows and movies, and this was good. I feel like I got more invested in, you know, some of the characters than I would normally in a superhero game like this. You know, Dr. Octavius, Mary Jane, even May and Miles, who I'd not seen in any Spider-Man properties thus far. I think the game did a really good job of telling a compelling story and also having, you know, side characters that were interesting enough. And I think from the very little that I understand, it's fairly kind of true to comic book content. So it doesn't stray from it too much, but it is, you know, unique in a sense. Because I was looking around a lot on the internet to try and see which Spider-Man it would follow, if any, and it turns out it's a different actor, so it's not Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield, and it sort of follows a vaguely different story. I know there is one comic book series that is the precursor to this game, but it's Spider-Man at its core. It's just a little different, but, you know, that's good. Going from story to side mission and collectibles, there's heaps to do in the city. You know, you'll notice very quickly that when you start playing the game, you'll have your, you know, main quest and your side quest, and then there's just a whole bunch of locked stuff and you have no idea what they all are. You get to uncover those really, really quickly. So it's open world, but semi-open world in the sense that not everything is open to you right away. It progressively does it, but it's still pretty open world. You can do what you like in whatever order you like. I was pretty happy with the difficulty and the fun in a lot of the side missions because, you know, games like this can fall prey to having really generic and boring side missions. There's a good mix of, you know, combat-based side missions and stealth-based ones, and also ones that not force you, but make you go around exploring the city, doing a lot of swinging and things that you would normally associate Spider-Man with. And it's sort of indicative of the way Tom Holland was in Homecoming, where it's, yeah, I could be doing more, but sometimes you got to be friendly neighborhood spider, doing neighborhood things, helping, collecting, the sorts of things that Iron Man wouldn't concern himself with, but Spider-Man would. The controls are so tight. Like I mentioned briefly when I was talking about combat, everything in the fighting is really quick and responsive. You never feel like you're slow or sluggish, because you wouldn't want to playing as Spider-Man. And it's not just the combat where everything feels really fluid. You have so much control when you're swinging around the city. I was looking at some videos that were, things that are important to know but the game doesn't tell you, which, by the way, don't watch them, because most of them the game has told you, and if you've watched one, you've watched all of them, because they're all virtually the same thing. But one of them was saying, if you want to change momentum, you just hold L2 and everything goes slow-mo, and you can go in any direction you like. And that just felt useless to me, because you build up enough momentum, and at the peak of your swing, you press X, you do a massive jump, and then from there you can sort of free fall and swing in any direction you like. And so that serves as, A, proving that video was kind of null and void, but B, more importantly, showing you that you could be swinging in one direction for a couple kilometers, and then just as easily turn a hard 90-degree angle and then just go a completely different way. And you really don't lose too much speed and momentum doing that. There is heaps of other things to do. You got mini games, you got side quests, collectibles, beat 'em up, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got the suit system. So in Spider-Man, there's, I think, like 30 or so different suits, and all of them require you to level up or unlock or require different tokens, which are accumulated from doing different side missions to unlock. And the suit system is great, because more often than not, every suit comes with a unique suit model, obviously, and then a power. So after a certain amount of time, you can press down both your left and right sticks, and you'll get a power. And the base one that they give you is you build up focus faster, which, for a first one is really, really good. It will carry you through the game, I feel like. None of the other ones outclass it to a point where you'd never use that. In fact, during a couple of the boss fights, I found myself reverting back to that one, because sometimes in boss fights you can't always use these powers, like, throwing dudes easily because they're bosses, but being able to generate focus to heal quickly is pretty useful. But yeah, I found that the suit, power, and then mod system was really, really interesting. When you first jump into the game, it's so confusing. Like, they throw so much at you at once. You got your power, you got your suit, and you got 3 different mods. Oh, what are all the mods? Oh, well, there's 50 different mods, and you can only put on the 3 at once. But you have to unlock them and you have to buy them. But at its core, you got your suit, which is cosmetic, and then you can choose one of the suit powers, which are not exclusive. You can mix and match. So you've got your Spider-Man suit. I was going to think of one off the top of my head, but I don't want to spoil it, because a lot of people find enjoyment out of being surprised with each new suit. So you choose your suit, and then you choose your power from whichever suits you've unlocked, and then you choose 3 different mods, and they vary between all different things, like generating more gadgets when you get hit, or web attacks generate more focus. And so there's a really vast collection, and that goes back to what I was saying about, I feel like people that know the game well enough and play enough can min-max the hell out of it. With enough testing and knowing the mods and powers well enough, I feel like you could find a setup that just blasts through the game. It doesn't strike me as a game that goes, oh, we didn't think about how overpowered this would be, and so we'll have to patch it. Because in some games, they will, monitor that heavily. First-person shooters and super competitive games, if something's ridiculously good, they'll sort of nerf it, or if something's bad, they'll buff it to try and, keep some semblance of balance. But this sort of strikes me as a game where it's just, oh, hey, this is just everything, enjoy, and if you find something to steamroll through the game, sure, as long as you're having fun, whatever. There's heaps of different mods and suit powers, and they're all really unique and interesting. And you find a lot of fun mixing and matching, seeing what works for you, because some people are more stealthy, some people are more beat them up, and, some people prefer aerial combat to ground, and, as someone that prefers the aerial combat, it was really good to see that there was things to be accommodating for that. And one of the final things is that it's got a really cool RPG skill tree system. And, it's not new by any means. Heaps of games have them. But in Spider-Man, you've got your innovator, you've got your web slinger, and defender, right? And so that roughly equates to punch, swing, and throw, I guess, roughly. And they're skill trees. And it's one of those games where you don't have to, respec at a certain point. You will, by the end of the game, have enough to unlock them all. There are definitely ones that are better to get than others. Not super spoilery, but there are ones that let you pull the guns out of enemies' hands, and they are really, really great off the bat if you struggle in combat or if you find it useful. And there are ones that help you gain momentum when you're swinging through the city a lot easier and more efficiently. And, that might be your thing. I found that the further down you got in some of the skill trees, you just thought they were useless. I don't know. I mean, all of them have good uses, but the amount of times I found myself using some of them is really, really low. Like, there's one that's just, a ground pound, right? And, man, apart from the one mission where I had to do it, and it wasn't even a main mission, it was a side mission. Apart from that one time where I had to use the ground pound, man, I never use that because, combat is so intuitive that I never found myself going, oh, this would be a great time for a ground pound. No, you sort of just pick up, throw, and then web. They've done webs so well in this game because they've got a variety of gadgets with you between your web shooters, and the gadgets feel so natural. They become like an extension of Spider-Man. You feel like you've always got the right tool for the right job. And I think the fact that you can, with the right amount of momentum and in the right placement, you can web an enemy to a wall or to the side of a car or something. And that's as good as killing them, because the second they're webbed up and detained via a wall, they're out of commission. They're out of the battle. And I find that having a system like that, which is just as useful and just as efficient as, knocking them out, killing them, is good because it helps you. I mean, for the people that want to roleplay as a less aggressive, more passive Spider-Man, you can just web the hell out of everyone. And if you're, like me, where you sort of sometimes you just want to get out of combat quickly and you just want to finish the mission, you can, throw them towards a wall and then just web them, and that's one enemy done, right? You don't have to worry about punching them 10, 15 times. The difficulty is just like the final thing I wanted to talk about, and it's one of those things, I feel like it has a low skill floor and a high skill ceiling, in the sense that you can get into it and you can get decent at it really easily, but to really, finesse your way through all these battles without getting touched and, doing some really flashy stuff is quite a high skill ceiling. I find myself in the, I guess I find myself towards the middle, maybe towards the middle, I'd say is a fair place to put myself. Just in the sense that I can manage to, get through a lot of the fights without taking too much damage. And just some of the combos of, lift and then punch and then swing and then take out a couple enemies and then get them webbed so they can't do anything, is a thing that's not too difficult to achieve, but also you can't necessarily do by just mashing square. But the thing is, if you're the sort of person that is good at games, which I'm not putting myself in, like really, really good, the sort of person that does like Dark Souls no-hit runs, you can put the difficulty the highest setting and you can really just have fun using the game system to your advantage and just stunting on enemies, right? But if you're not good at games, you can put it on the lowest difficulty and you can just press square and occasionally R1 and you can still get through the game. I don't know how you'd fare with the bosses because they are, but I mean, yeah, they're bosses. They're all just cyclical in how you take them out, as you would imagine with I think I called it a Ubisoft game before, but it's Insomniac, isn't it? So yeah, that's Spider-Man. That's about everything I have to say about it. It's great. I imagine it's one of those games where I'm going to play it to completion, platinum trophy it, because I like to do that, and then wait for the DLCs, and then play the DLCs, and then shelf it, and then come back to it for a bit, just for 5-10 minutes at a time, just to swing through the city, because it's, if nothing else, it's really, really enjoyable just swinging through the city. So what hasn't even been a couple of seconds for you has actually been kind of like a week for me. There was a bit of a lapse in recording, but I've since finished Spider-Man, and I was really worried about listening back and going, oh, maybe I should change that, and this is slightly different, but I feel like if I should just leave it as is. What I said at the time I was happy with, and it just becomes too highly edited and polished and not a conscious stream of thought if you start going back and editing things and taking this out and rewording this. But yes, I have finished Spider-Man. Went through, finished the story, and then 100%ed the rest of the other stuff to do around the game, waiting for the DLC to come out. And it's, you know what? It's better than I gave it credit for. You know, at the time of recording the previous bit you've just listened to, I was sort of in the camp of, yeah, it's really, really good so far, but it's phenomenal. I'm sure it will get recognized at the end of the year or the start of the next, whenever they do the Best Games of the Year awards. But yeah, no, it was phenomenal. There's heaps to do. And what's interesting to me is there's a season pass for DLC, and it's $30 Australian, so probably like 24 American. And it's $30 for 3 DLCs that come out in the 3 following months, October, November, December. And it's going to be really interesting to compare the Spider-Man DLCs to the South Park DLCs. And I only say the South Park because it's the most recent DLC I bought, so it's my only real point of reference. But the South Park DLCs, there was 3 of them, and I think the whole set was closer to $45. And one of the DLCs wasn't even a story-based one, it was just minigames, like challenging difficulty type stuff. And one of the stories was pretty good and gave you some pretty good stuff. And the third DLC was just another story-based one. It was way too short. It was really bad. And it gave you access to a character that was just supremely overpowered to the point where it was just, I don't know, breaking the rest of the game for reasons. I don't have a problem with adding things that are overpowered into single-player games, because if you want to go through and min-max and just smash through the game in 10 minutes because you chose the best stuff, fine, that's your way of playing. But at the same time, I don't know, there was something about the way they implemented this character and the way he's so good, and it just sort of, I don't know, you get left a bad taste in my mouth in regards to DLC. So it'll be interesting to see how the Spider-Man one compares, but I imagine it's probably going to be, you know, really, really good. And I can't say that because I've not even seen any trailers or gameplay for the DLCs, but just seeing how good the Spider-Man game, the base game was, I just can't imagine that I'm not going to have any complaints with the DLC. But I'll be sure to talk about it, because DLCs is currently one of those things where you really have to know what you're getting into, because, you know, DLCs and loot boxes and all that stuff sort of poisoning the well, to paraphrase other people that have said it better than me, because, you know, pre-orders are the other big thing. But hey, I wanted to get into a bit of music, because a lot of people online and, you know, doing radio stuff, I see it a lot. When a new album comes out, people listen to it for, you know, an hour or two, and then they review it. And I've always had a bit of a problem with listening to an hour's worth of music, you know, only spending an hour to listen to an hour's worth of music, and then going, oh yeah, this is 2 out of 5 stars, don't bother getting it. So the newest Eminem album, Kamikaze, came out probably a month ago, around that. And because I do the radio stuff, I have access to it through a service that distributes music to be played online. And I just wanted to go through, I don't want to give it a rating out of 10, because I don't like that philosophy. I sort of like, you know, describing it, and then you choose for yourself whether or not it's something you're interested in. I do the same thing on radio when I'm reviewing TV shows and whatnot, but I've got the list of songs in front of me, and I'm just going to go through all of them and talk briefly about them. And if you're an Eminem fan and you are undecided on whether or not to pick it up, go for it. The one thing I will mention is that whether or not you listen to his previous album, Revival, will probably be impactful, because in a lot of the songs that he makes reference to the fact that, you know, he did Revival last year and it didn't go so well, and, you know, it was a really, really good album in his mind, the way he described it, and everybody ignored it and thought it was terrible, and now he's coming out with this. And in one of the skits, which I'll talk about later, the idea is it's him talking to Paul, you know, his manager, I think. And if you've heard any Eminem album, you're familiar with the Paul skits. But yeah, Paul calls up and says, hey, I don't know if making an album going after everyone that didn't like the previous album is a good idea, because then what comes next, Kamikaze 2, where you go after everyone that didn't like the album, where you went after people that didn't like the previous album. And so that's paraphrasing essentially what that first part of the skit is. But we'll go through the track list. Number 1 is The Ringer. The Ring is, I think, probably the best song on the album. You know, it's got great flow. Lyrically, it's really good. I don't want to... It's hard because there's a significant portion of the tail end of the song which is about Donald Trump. And I don't want to have that as a point of reference when I'm saying whether or not the song is good. I mean, lyrically, it's really... I don't know how I would say it. It's not insulting, but you sort of listen to it and you go, ooh, yeah. But the song, regardless of that, is actually a really, really good song. You know, it covers a whole bunch of different things. It disses, you know, certain rappers in a not so serious, in a more of a playful way. It's one of those songs where you can listen to it and go, oh, yeah, no, keep going, get him. But at the same time, you can sit back and just listen to it as a song that's, you know, upbeat and catchy. So The Ringer, I reckon if you don't listen to any of the other ones, do listen to that because it's really, really good. The second song on the album is Greatest in the World. And it's that classic... There's another song like it a bit later on in the album, but it's just that classic Eminem where it's sort of playful and braggadocious and fast rapping. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely up there. But the thing about this album I found is that unlike a lot of... Eminem's one of those rappers where you listen to his music and he's not been influenced by the way rap has changed too much. In saying that, there are a lot of songs in this album where you actually hear, oh, okay, rap has really changed a lot, and you know his music has been affected by it because obviously you're producing rap and rap has changed. No, so Lucky You is the third one on the album. I didn't really go over the second one, The Greatest in the World. It's a classic Eminem song, sort of playful, upbeat. Lyrically pretty fast and relatively clever. Not the highlight, but definitely nothing to turn your nose up at. Lucky You is great. I like this track because it's got this real dichotomy between himself and the other person on the track, and I'm trying to find their name, Jonah Lucas. And it's cool because he goes first, and it's the whole idea of, oh, you know, I haven't made it yet, I'm just this unknown rapper, but I'm still really, really good. And he makes reference to that by saying, you know, I haven't won any Grammys yet, still probably won't. But then you listen to him rap, and the dude can hold a candle up to Eminem. Like, he raps really, really fast, which is, you know, something some people value, some people don't. Lyrically, it's pretty clever, and it's got good flow, good cadence. It's something you can really enjoy listening to. And then the second half is Eminem kind of being the opposite, saying, oh, I've won all these Grammys, sold my soul to get them. You know, I'm so successful, but I'm not happy about it. And I almost dislike Eminem's part in the sense that this first guy, Joyner Lucas, he does some really good fast rapping that's, you know, pretty lyrically clever, but it's only a short amount of it. And then Eminem comes along and does this like massive stretch of super fast rapping, and I feel like it was unnecessary because it kind of blows the other guy away. But in saying that, I don't know anything about Joyner Lucas, but he's a really good rapper from the very little that I've heard. I'm probably going to go and look him up further and look into more of his music because he definitely seems like the sort of person to look out for. So 4 is the Paul skit, and I paraphrased it before. I don't understand skits. Man, does anybody actually listen to them? The only time I've ever listened to a skit is when I've got an album playing on repeat. On shuffle. On a speaker, and I don't have access to it, and it's a 30-second skit, and it would take me longer to walk over to the speaker, change it, than it would to just play it out. I don't know, there's some like meta stuff going on about what they're talking about, their phone calls, but they're just boring. I mean, you can love a rapper and artist so much, but I don't think that's ever going to make the skits interesting. I don't know, so I mean, he puts them in, all of them, but they're just really, really not that interesting. So the fifth one is Normal, and it's a relationship type one, and there's 3 songs on the album that are pretty relationshipy, and this is one of the 2 good ones. It's a fine song. It's just roughly about him sort of saying that he wants, as the name would imply, you know, wants a normal relationship. What's with the people that I date, the current, the previous, they're all psychotic. I just want to find a normal down-to-earth person, but I can't because I'm a public spectacle, I'm a public figure, and also I'm not necessarily as, I'm somewhat unhinged, so why should I, / how can I find someone that is got their head screwed on straight when I don't even? So it's a pretty interesting song. Again, it's another one that's pretty catchy, that if you're in a sort of a, I don't want to say somber, but not an upbeat mood where you're just trying to relax and chill out, but you want to listen to some rap, it's one of the ones that you can set the lyrics aside and just listen to the flow and to the beat and just actually enjoy it as a sort of downplayed song. Then we've got M Calls You, which is him calling the dude Paul back. You know what? I was thinking of Steve Bergman, because that's the other guy that he calls in some of the previous skits. Anyway, irrelevant. So M Calls You, it's just another 30-second skit, and it's just, you skip over it every time. And the only reason I haven't deleted it is because I like to have it a full collection, almost like you would like a set of Pokemon cards. I just like seeing, 1 through 13, not having any missing numbers. But yeah, just, unless you, for some reason, really, really like these skits. And if you do, please tell me, because I don't understand the appeal, but I would love to understand. Next, we've got Stepping Stone. And this is a song about Eminem, and all these titles are really self-explanatory, but it's Eminem talking about the people that he used to run with and how he's really gotten all this fame and notoriety, and he feels bad because he feels like he's left other people in the dust and used them as stepping stones, as the name would imply. This one's particularly noteworthy to me, because normally with songs like, Sing for the Moment and Mockingbird, ones that are really like sort of emotional and deep, I really get behind. Regardless of, how I'm feeling, I can always listen to Sing for the Moment, which is my favorite Eminem song, and I can just always enjoy it no matter what mood I'm in. But there was something about Stepping Stones that didn't really vibe with me. I'm not saying it's a bad song by any means, but it's one of those songs where he's emotional, he's talking about real feelings, and there's just something about it that doesn't connect with me the same way, To Kill a Mockingbird, Cleaning Out My Closet, any of those songs do. I don't know, maybe it was the fact that one of the very last lines upset me a lot more than it should have. The last line is, I can't remember it verbatim, but it's something to the effect of, it's not goodbye to our friendship, but D12 is over. And I listened to like maybe 2 or 3 D12 songs, so it doesn't hit me particularly hard. But when he said that, I don't know, it sort of just hit me in a way that it shouldn't have, because like I said, I don't really follow them hugely. So, I don't know, but Stepping Stones is a very good song of its own merits. I just personally didn't enjoy it as much as I have songs like The Ringer. So after Stepping Stones, this is the one I was talking about before, Not Alike. It's Eminem, and I think it's Royce the 5'9". And it's just a really upbeat, catchy song. But the thing is, when you listen to it, you can definitely hear that a lot of, sort of like modern trap style rap has influenced it. You can hear it in the chorus, you can hear it in the beat, and some of the lyrics in the verses. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I would put it middle of the pack, really. And it's just indicative of the way that, rap and the whole genre has changed. Some people say for the better, some people for the worse. It's one of those things that I feel like, old hip-hop heads are the people that really don't like change. I mean, a lot of people don't like change, but people that like, classic grassroots, talk about real emotions, that type of rap, find it hard adjusting to the new style of rap. And I'm, to a degree, one of those people that, hears Takeshi 6ix9ine and all the littles and all the Uzis and the pumps and all that, and just think, it's not for me. I don't really think this is rap. I don't know. But this is sort of a halfway point between new style rap and just the classic Eminem stuff. Lyrically, it's great. There's no songs really, except for one that we're getting up to, where I think really just suck. So after Not Alike, we've got Fall. And Fall was actually the first one that I heard, because I think it was, for whatever reason, released first on his YouTube, the Eminem YouTube music page. And it's a really good song. It's just aggressively solid, right? Like, you couldn't give it anything other than like a 6.5 or a 7. Like, it's just really, really strong. I think it would be hard to argue it was a bad song, but it'd also be hard to argue that it was the best song. It's got a great beat. It's got some great rapping. Lyrically, it's, very strong like all the others. It's an enjoyable listen to. It's just like Normal or The Ringer, where you could put it on at any point and just enjoy it for its, musical talent, for the beat and the flow and the lyrics. But it's also one of the ones where you can sit back and listen to the lyrics and enjoy it for that. But yeah, it's interesting when you listen to it. You listen to the first few seconds of the melody and the beat or whatever. I'm not musically talented, so I don't know the different names for parts of music. But listen to the first 5 seconds, you go, oh, it's going to be one of those. And then you listen to Eminem get into the first verse, and you go, oh, it's going to be one of those. So no, Fall is a good song. Kamikaze, the titular track, it's not my favorite. It's still a good song. It's fine. It's one of those ones that's in the same vein as, if you haven't heard Eminem's older stuff, this is probably going to be hard, but it's sort of like Fack, right? F-A-C-K, Fack. It's just one of those overly playful songs where you can even hear in the music, it's just, it's sort of a borderline juvenile Eminem just having fun with it. And it's not my favorite. It's hard because you got a track like The Ringer, which starts off the album and is so strong, and the end of the album is also so strong, and then it sort of dips in the middle when you got songs like that. And the next one. So the next one, Nice Guy, is probably the worst song on the track, and I think it'd be hard to argue it because it's just bad. And look, I don't want to say too many negative things because this whole album comes off the back of people underappreciating his previous album, Revival, which after listening to this, I went back and listened to Revival, and I'm a very large Eminem fan, but I didn't enjoy Revival. And in a lot of his songs is saying, Revival was so slept on. If you want a porterhouse, you better go get Revival because everything else is just like a McDonald's burger in comparison. I didn't think it was that good. I really didn't. But Revival looks great when you compare it to Nice Guy. Nice Guy is terrible. You have this woman singing, I'll pull up her name because I don't know it off the top of my head. It is Jessie Reyes? Yeah, I'm probably mispronouncing that. And in this, she does 2 songs, this and the following one. And in this one, her voice is so grating, it is painful to listen to. It starts off with this really, high pitch, you're a nice guy, and lists all these positives. You go out to the club and you come home, you're faithful, you're perfect. And then she goes, right. And then she goes, psych. And then it shifts completely into this, you're terrible. Yeah, real grungy style rap. And her voice is just garbage in it. And then Eminem starts rapping, and it's not a good song. This is just personal opinion, but this is the weakest song on the track because there's never a situation where I want to listen to her grating voice and then this song, which is just really, really bland. It's just bad. And then you get into the penultimate song, which is Good Guy, as opposed to Nice Guy. And it still has Jessie Reyes singing. But in this, she sings the little, I don't want to say interlude, but the little tail end of the song. And when she sings it there, she's got like a really nice voice. And I don't know what was going on that in the first song that she was on, it just sounds bad. And the second one, she, sounds really good. But no, a Good Guy is what I imagine Nice Guy should have been. It's him sort of downplaying himself. It's another one of those relationship songs, but it's more engaging than Normal, I think. Because Normal, he puts a lot of blame on himself as well, whereas Good Guy, it's a lot of it is blame placed off of him, but not necessarily unfairly. And it's, hard to really capture these songs without following his personal life to an extreme degree or actually being involved in it. But yeah, it's sort of talking about his relationship with someone. I don't know, maybe the girl from Rivers or Down to the River, the song from Revival, the one with Ed Sheeran. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting song. I listen to it, I can enjoy it, because he just sounds really sad in it. And there's not too many songs where Eminem sounds just really, really sad, but I don't know, he feels really beat up and worn out in this. And then the 13th track is Venom, and as you might have imagined, it's the song that is on the Venom movie that recently came out that I haven't seen yet, that audiences love and critics don't, and it's kind of mixed. I'll probably see it because I like Spider-Man and those sorts of heroes, and anti-heroes, I guess. But yeah, the Venom track is really, really good. It's weird because he has a go at mumble rappers in other bits, in other songs rather. But in the chorus of Venom is sort of incoherent. Like, you can barely hear what he's saying. All you can really make out is he says Venom and then there's Venom. But it's super catchy. And my dad and I, because he's a massive Eminem fan as well, we were talking about it and we were saying, yeah, it is a bit mumble rap and incoherent. You can't really make out what he's saying. And we both agreed that we really liked it, but it's probably because we're biased to Eminem and we enjoy his music. But in terms of the chorus, at least, look, in fairness, it is a bit incoherent and a little bit mumbly. On the plus side, the verses are actually really, really funny when they're not being just enjoyable to listen to. And it's kind of lame when you watch the video clip because they've kind of done like a Venom take on it where it's the spirit of Eminem or Slim Shady is like infecting different people and it's passed on. And it's super corny and lame, but they have this like little kid that's throwing around lamps because he got possessed by the spirit of M. And it's, you know what, he's just having a bit of fun with it. They can't all be super serious songs like Beautiful where it's just, tense and emotional. He's just having a bit of fun with it. And from the very, very little I know about Venom as a character, he's sort of a bit of an eccentric person or character. I'm not really sure because I vaguely know the story of Venom, but he's always been sort of goofy and eccentric from the very little that I know. So it's cool that they did that sort of thing with the music video. But yeah, Venom is probably my second favorite on the album. So if we're looking at top threes, The Ringer is definitely number 1. Venom, easily number 2. And then if I had to put a number 3, it would probably be, I don't know. See, I want to say Normal or Good Guy are tied for 4th, but for 3rd, definitely would be Lucky You with Joyner Lucas. Because, you know what? It brings a rapper that I've not heard of, and I don't think he's worked with before, brings him on board, and he just does a great job keeping up with Eminem, which is definitely not something that's particularly easy to do. I didn't want to address it. I was really considering against it, but I listened to, I think it's called Rap Devil, the MGK diss on Eminem, and then I listened to Killshot, the response. And it's interesting because I feel like I'm one of there's obviously these people exist, but I was listening to MGK years ago when he was doing Wild Boys, when he was rapping with his shirt off with Waka Flocka Flame. And I still remember the music video because it starts off with like this nice girl and, sort of, typical like Christian parents, all, sweaters and vests. And she brings home MGK as the boyfriend, and he goes, "Oh, what's your name? MGK, Machine Gun Criminal Gangster Kelly." And then it jumps into the rapping in a subway or like in an underpass, and it's all like real intense gangster stuff. And so I was listening to MGK back then, and I've listened to Eminem just basically always. So I'm just trying to set the precedent that I've listened to both. I don't come into this hating one party. And you know what? It's embarrassing to say, I like the song, I think it's Home, the one that's the premiere track for the movie Bright, the Netflix one with Will Smith. And I don't know, that's an MGK song, and it's kind of corny and lame, but I like it. It's pretty catchy. So I kind of have listened to both of these people. I don't particularly hate one or the other, but I listened to the first one, the Eminem diss by MGK, and it was a solid song. Like, it was insulting where it needed to be. It was catchy where it needed to be. The cinematography was garbage. It was just him holding I think a shovel between 2 train cars. It was real strange. But hey, it was if I was on the receiving end of that, I would have been upset. And he did a good job rapping. And then, in fairness, to be 100% honest, you listen to Eminem's response, and it was just a little bit harder and a little bit meaner, as you would want in a response, right? Because he has the benefit of going second. He also has the benefit of being, what, 30 years older and, has a lot more experience under his belt. So I listened to both. I think Killshot was better than Rap Devil. Not by much. Because I've always had this issue with rapper beef. Modern rap beef, right? Because if you go into the comments of either of those songs, you just see hordes of 12-year-olds just saying the same stupid comment that they've copy and pasted from Facebook. Oh, one like, one prayer for MGK, or rip in pieces, and stupid stuff like honestly, it's horrendous, right? But the worst bit is people that go around saying, oh, MGK's dead, his career is over. It just makes you think, is it? Is his career over? Because I doubt it. MGK is not my favourite rapper, and Eminem's probably close to being my favourite rapper. But I don't think MGK's dead. What he's going to do is he's not going to make another diss track against Eminem, and then in a couple of months, or, towards the end of a better half of a year, he's going to make another album, and he's going to make some more money, and he's going to steadily grow, and Eminem's going to do the same, and people are going to forget about this rap beef, because he did not kill MGK, and MGK did not kill Eminem. And I think the worst bit about people saying, oh, Eminem got killed by Rap Devil, is that, no, he didn't. Like, 5, 10, 15 years ago, rappers were actually murdering each other with guns. Back then, if a rapper insulted another one and there was like real firefights and murder and death involved, then you could say, oh yeah, no, did you not see on the news? No, Eminem was killed by MGK. Like, no, actually. But nowadays, it's just insulting poetry at each other. I mean, dude, look at all the rappers that were actually killed, Proof, Eminem's friend, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, like, people have actually died doing this, and now you've got, 13-year-olds in the comments of a YouTube video going, MGK was slayed. More like MG slayed. Ugh, I hate it. I truly hate seeing the comments in those sorts of videos. But hey, that's what Eminem's been up to, and I really want to try and bring more musicians and talk about them during the podcast, because the biggest thing that I want to do as like a radio announcer, and then in part if I ever get half decent at this, is I want to be able to have a list of rappers that you've not heard of and sort of have it as like a pinned tweet or like a description thing and say, hey, check out Silvertongue Son if you haven't, check out Watsky, check out Figaro Jones. These are all amazing rappers, or not necessarily, they don't have to be rappers, they could be people that make internet shows like Robert Moran at the Bruce Willikers channel, right? Or it could be an artist on Instagram that's just phenomenal, but they got 10 followers. And so I want to build a platform on radio in a career to do that. But I mean, internet reaches a lot more people. So if this ever became a half decent, not terrible show, I would like to be able to use a platform to promote people that deserve it. Because otherwise, if you might be a dude living in Canada right now and you might never ever hear of Silvertongue, and you would be missing out because he's a great rapper. But speaking of viewers, thanks to the one guy that left a comment saying that the links in the description, I put the Polymega as the first link in the description, but I only spoke about it in the last 5 minutes. That's true. I'm still really bad at this, as is probably evident. I just, I'm trying to make a transition from doing radio, which is small 3-4 minutes of content, and then pad up, a couple of songs, and you can break up the music with talking and the talking with music. And this is just, 45 minutes, an hour of just straight talking and trying to make it, engaging, not have too much dead air. So, hey, to that guy, thank you for giving me some feedback. I corrected the situation, and hopefully you're listening to this one and give me some more feedback, because it's so disheartening trying to start up online, trying to start anywhere. It's so demoralizing, because it's just soul crushing. You put, an hour's worth of time recording something, and then, more time editing it, and then more time trying to render it and make it look pretty and doing the graphics and stuff. And then you look at the video and it's got 2 dislikes and 1 like, and that 1 like is you. It's fine, it's just a part of it. It's really hard to get started. But it's important for the radio stuff I'm trying to do to get this started. And it's enjoyable. So I'll keep at it. And to the people disliking it, hey, just leave a comment about what you don't like and then I'll fix it. Unless it's fundamentally me that you don't like, in which case I can't do much about that. Apologies. The other thing that's difficult, and I'm probably going to start wrapping it up because... because Eminem. Ha, what a joke. No, I think I spoke about Spider-Man for like 20 odd minutes and maybe Eminem for 15. So I feel like I'm starting to get to the tail end. I got other stuff I want to talk about, but I can say that for another because I'm trying to do multiple a week. But the other thing that people don't consider when you're trying to do this is you have to set up your YouTube page, and then you go to do the Gmail, and then you go to do all the socials, the Snapchat, the Twitter, the Facebook. Not that anybody uses Facebook. Honestly, if you follow creators on YouTube and you also follow them on Facebook, you're an anomaly. People don't do that. I don't know why. There's people I follow religiously on YouTube, right? Bruce Willikers is one. Northern Lion is a recent one. Other people. I like to make stuff, Homemade Modern. These are people that I follow religiously online, and every time a YouTube video comes out, I watch it and I like it and I enjoy it, but I don't go like the Facebook page. And it's strange. I don't know. The other social medias, whatever, but Facebook is one of the ones that, for whatever reason, doesn't translate to Facebook. You look at any content creator and you see they've got X amount on YouTube and then, a large amount on Instagram and Twitter, and then you go to Facebook, it's just a negligible amount. I really don't know why, except for the situation where you're looking at people that do vlogs and comedy type stuff where that type of content is favored, short, funny stuff. Whereas, long form, more serious or, less comic stuff doesn't necessarily translate well to Facebook because people just want to scroll through and see a funny video for 30 seconds and watch that and laugh, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that's what the format is. But no, I've had to go through and make an Instagram and a Snapchat. I don't know. I'm weird. I really like Snapchat because I like photos, but I hate Instagram. I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's because when I look at Instagram, it seems more faux because it's pictures still. But because they don't go in 24 hours, then it becomes more of a, hey, look at me, self-absorbed type thing. I know that's not all of Instagram, but, at face value, that's what you see on the surface a little bit. Whereas Snapchat, sure, you can be braggadocious. Oh, look at my new Rolls Royce, but that picture's going to be gone in 24 hours. So what's the point? I don't know. Snapchat seems more juvenile and just like fun. Like, oh, hey, I look at this person doing a really entertaining busking in the city. I'll send a Snapchat to my friend because I know he likes that sort of street art type thing. So no, I've been going through, setting up all the social medias. I begrudgingly made an Instagram. And the worst bit is you have to make them all, and then you have to link them all together and have consistent artwork on all of them. Then you have to start following people to make it look like it's a real account, not some type of weird bot. But I have no desire to use any of them. Ideally, if this ever starts to pick up a bit of traction, just sort of have like a daily reminder to post once on each of them and then just forget about it and just make sure you have an amount of following that is not 0, so it looks like you're a real person. It's good. I mean, like, things like Twitter maybe might get some use, but honestly, the majority of the content I consume is on YouTube. And so if I can subscribe to someone and just see their videos in my feed, why do I need anything else? What, am I going to go get Twitter so then I can read them and say, oh, sorry, the video is going to be an hour late? That's fine. I'll just watch it in an hour when it comes out. But yeah, those are the trials and tribulations of setting up any sort of online stuff. You have to make a million different social media accounts, and you got to make them now, because if I made it in a year's time, if this ever gets a bit of traction going, then someone's taken the name and I have to make it something slightly different or put a 1 at the end because that person's squatting the username, and I don't want to pay $100, $1,000 for a username. But yeah, that's episode 1 wrapped up. Except it's episode 2 because it's the second one I've recorded, but it's the episode 1 because the pilot doesn't count. So thanks for listening. Be sure to leave any comments on what I'm doing wrong, because obviously the 2 people that watched it both thought I was doing something wrong. And I'll try to refrain from talking about something in the last 5 minutes, only briefly, because if the problem is I had Polymega in the title because I talked about it. But it was in the last 5 minutes, as that guy was pointing out. I think that's the biggest issue that he had. It wasn't that I put it first in the comments, in the description, and then last. It was the last thing I spoke about. I think it was because it was a headlining thing, but I only spoke about it for 5 minutes. So I'll in the title for this one, there will be Eminem and Spider-Man, because those are 2 core things I'm going to talk about. Try to be a little more, I don't want to say upfront, but maybe transparent about it, just so it doesn't look like I'm talking about something for a minute to clickbait likes, views. But yeah, any constructive feedback is greatly appreciated. I'll be back in hopefully a couple of days with a new one. I'm probably going to talk about cooking and glasses and Marvel superheroes, because I'm probably going to talk about, I've recently got glasses, so that's one thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about cooking because it's an interesting thing that I want to discuss. Not cooking itself as a concept, but one thing in particular. And also, one of the Defenders, the Marvel Netflix TV series, got cancelled. So I was going to just talk about that, and then the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe in the Netflix, just in its entirety, just because they're pretty interesting shows. But yep, done rambling. Thanks for listening. Leave a comment. Don't text and drive. Have a good one, and I'm out.